So in this video, we're going to be talking about what is being a leader or leadership and your responsibility as a leader. So leading yourself first and discipline as leadership, and what does that kind of mean? Um, in my mind, I immediately go back to the principles of leadership. In the Army, there's three principles of leadership, and a lot of times we use acronyms. We try to keep things simple. It's a KISS philosophy: keep it simple, stupid. But with leading yourself first, you're setting the example, and I'm going to be talking about that later. But the principles of be, know, and do. What does that mean to be as a leader? Who are you being? You're not a manager. You're not just managing tasks. So with the be aspect, it's who you are to embody. What are you in, you know, what are you not just emulating? There's a lot to be as a leader. And so it's your day-to-day tasks, how you conduct yourselves, how you're handling challenges, not just when we win, not just to push and drive, but big concept. And the next piece is know. So within the be, know, and do, the know aspect is knowledge. One, as a leader, are you expanding your knowledge? Are you trying to grow? Are you having resiliency over struggles and failure to grow? Where you're able to take something really bad and turn it to a negative. Where you can take the morale of something that isn't going well and redirect the ship based on your knowledge of how to do that, but also inside intrinsically, as you have these leadership traits of what you build, how you're filling that cup, as you have your rucksack or your kit bag, your toolbox, that you're adding tools to it with what you know how to do. So if it's going well or it's not going well, you can continue to advise. You can insert yourself. You can support. You can help someone be successful because you know how to do that. And it's the old saying, you need to be a carpenter before you're an engineer. Some of that takes time, and you can't just jump into that senior leadership position because you think you may know. Now, with that being said, you need to be in that junior position. So when you get to that senior position, you can see things from a vantage point of, wow, okay, I understand the struggles of every position I'm in charge of because I know there's struggles. And then do. Within the be, know, and do aspect and kind of rolling into discipline, what do you do on the day to day? What does your morning look like? We would have to shave every morning before we get to work. Not the night before, the morning of. And you can tell if somebody shaved the night before, the morning of. And although that may seem like a small little detailed item, if you are the one in charge and you are enforcing some of the standards, or you have standards and you're not living up to those standards as what to do, what to be, is that disciplined? Is that hypocritical? And so and again, I'll reference some of this as we bounce around, but how you're setting the example and the tone, the energy you're giving off. Are you being positive, productive? When you do things, are you doing them for the mission? Are you doing them for others? Or are you doing for self? Leadership is selfless. How you're leading, how you're helping, how you're doing is for others. And as you invest into others, others are going to earn that gratitude. Others are going to be thankful for what you are giving them based on what you know, what you're doing, and who you are and who you are being as that leader. And so being disciplined, you know, you there are so many little items that are required to any high performing athlete, any high performing professional or special operations soldier. And so mastering the basics starts with discipline. Knowing how to do the 1, 2, 3 blocks adds on to 2, 3, 4 to 4, 5, 6 to 7, 8, 9, etc. You need that foundation and base. And if you don't have discipline, then it's going to crumble apart. It's going to be part of the foundation that keeps it strong. So you have consistency. That consistency people rely on. And that's part of the leadership philosophy I believe you need to embody. And, I spent 15 years in the military. A lot of that time was in the Ranger Regiment. I've deployed 7 times, and there's a lot of great lessons learned in combat, but also training and being back stateside when you also have to be an Army Ranger, when you have to be a standard, when you have to live the Ranger Creed. In the Ranger Creed, it says, set the example for others to follow. And there's a lot of stanzas in that Ranger Creed. You can look up the Ranger Creed. It's something we would say every day. That also takes discipline. That helps with accountability. One, accountable for ourselves, but where we can also keep our brothers accountable. So that environment of the Ranger Regiment and how that helped us produce a product of operator, of mission completement, whatever the task was, you send in the Ranger Regiment, they will make it happen. And it's what standards and discipline has done for many of years to build where they're currently at now in the special operations community. And so what does it mean to set the example? And so there'd be a lot of times we're out at the range and we're shooting and there's long days and we're wanting to just get tired, but you realize others are looking at you. And if you're in a leadership position, people are looking at you for what does right look like, from how your kit's set up, your helmet, your nods, your weapon system, all your gear, how you're moving, your physical fitness, your performance, how proficient are you at your job, how good is your team? Does your team outperform others? If they do, that's on the leader. If they're not performing well, that's on the leader. So anything you touch as a leader, is it doing well? Is it not doing well? Are you aware of the things that are going well or not going well? And then what happens when you don't set the example? I've I'm thankful for all the opportunities I've had and a lot of success, but I've also had a lot of failure. I've had a lot of mistakes. I've had mistakes in the Ranger Regiment, and some of them were costly. Some of the mistakes from others that were costly. You can learn from those mistakes, and it's not just a one and done, and you are your last performance. A lot of times we look at our last performance, but you can learn from that and you continue on your journey. And so the lessons from the Ranger Regiment I take with me are one, some of the greatest leaders and how they impacted the organization, both well, and then some that they how did they get there, right? Like, how did that happen? They're both great examples to learn from. One, what not to be, and then two, who do I try to emulate, or who do I try to better keep around me so I can grow, so I can excel, because others are looking at me. And when in doubt, if I have to follow that guy because he looks squared away, because that guy looks like he knows what he's doing, people will follow you. And if you're leaning into investing into others, people have gratitude. It builds a cohesive team and embody that servant style leadership philosophy. This rolls into, fatherhood is being a dad. That's the ultimate leadership position. If you look at our Father above and the grace he gives us and what he has done for us of forgiveness and what we do to forgive, and how should we try to be as a father, as a leader? How do we take lessons from work and life and teach them to our kids? Our job as parents is to mentor, to develop, to prepare them for life, to know God, but also have the heart and a conscience. So there's conviction in wrongdoing. What are they going to do when you're not around, Dad? Have you set the example so they know what direction to follow when they become a father or a mother? Have you shown them compassion and love? Have you been present in their life? And so look at how one building up into a dad that isn't just I'm having a kid because I'm irresponsible with who I'm dating and what I'm doing. Date to marry, by the way. Do not just go out and date because you're bored. If you're filling that gap, then do some soul searching and be a strong, stable man so that you can attract a high value woman. But in that journey of the be, know, and do, there's a lot of mistakes you're going to make in the process, but you have to know yourself and you have to have discipline in that foundation so you're a high value dad, so you can break generational past, so you can have the strength to do what is right, not what is easy. And so look at what are you doing to invest into being a dad. If you're dad already, what are you doing to be better? Are you willing to say, hey, I was wrong? I apologize for that. And showing humility and grace, giving yourself grace, because we're humans. But being a dad and a father, you are setting the example of how to do it. Is your wife willing to follow you? Are you a man of God that is able to set the example and lead your family to faith while you have a strong faith within yourself? Because the faith, that's our moral compass and azimuth of how we're navigating some of the world around us. And so kind of shifting to this next point, how are you carrying your role with strength and humility? You know, when you look at a dad and a father, a leader, strength, a lot of that's also a deterrent from bad guys. That's a deterrent from sin and evil creeping into your family. Not only having humility and grace and understanding and having empathy of the situation, sometimes you have to correct behavior. Sometimes you have to enforce a standard. And so having the strength to do the hard right over the easy wrong. And sometimes it's very difficult to do that. And it's not easy being a strong leader. It's not easy to have discipline. It's not easy to have humility when your emotions are coming into play. And so as you reflect back onto this, one, discipline into your physical fitness, discipline into your mental fitness, how that's going to build you into a stronger leader, not just how you appear and what you look like, but how you're able to have discipline within yourself so you can control yourself, you can control your emotions, you can think before you respond, you can listen, you can pause, you can have grace and humility while you lead your family and you set the example of what it is to be, know, and do as a dad, you having the strength to do the hard things like get up out of bed and either go to work, go to the gym, how you're prepping for the day, how you're helping to serve your family. But you have to take care of you before you take care of others. You know, there's verbiage in scripture in the Bible that talks about you pointing out a fleck of sand in your brother's eye while you have a log in your own. And really what that's getting down to is reflect and look in the mirror and take care of you before you're pointing out flaws in others, before judgment of others. Be an honest broker of self and look at how you can strengthen yourself and be better before you ever worry about others. And when you do, are you trying to teach them, mentor, develop, help by serving, by being that servant style leader? And especially as your dad, serve your family, build for strength, humility, and lean into your faith. Have a good afternoon.